Hey everyone, and welcome to the video. Before we get started, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for the support, and now let us jump right in. Welcome to Willow Lane, a modest stretch of suburbia where families lock their doors early, kids ride bicycles before sunset, and mothers carry the world on their backs without complaint. On number 14 lived Mrs. Carter, a woman who moved like time, efficient, swift, and never slowing down. A banker by day, a mother by night, she wore ambition like armor. Every morning at 6 a.m., the glow of her living room lamp signaled the start of her day. She ironed school uniforms with the same precision she used to close deals, her mind constantly juggling spreadsheets and lunch boxes. Next door, at number 16, lived Mrs. Miller. Her world was louder, more colorful, and far less structured. A market vendor, she left her home before sunrise, returning long after the sun had dipped below the rooftops. Her hands were always dusted with flour or spices, her apron stained with the flavors of her hustle. Where Carter's world was neat and tidy, Miller's was lively chaos. A beautiful kind of mess only she could manage. The two women, so different, yet bound by time and trust, had been neighbors for over a decade. They shared more than just fences and favors. They shared a bond forged in late-night conversations over cups of instant coffee, emergency babysitting swaps, and the quiet ache of raising children alone. Both widowed by cruel twists of fate, they wore their grief quietly, focusing instead on survival. Love had been a luxury. Survival was a necessity. Their children, Jake Carter and Emily Miller, had grown up like siblings. Born just months apart, they shared everything, from lunchboxes to secrets, scraped knees to birthday candles. Childhood was filled with laughter, pillow forts, and muddy shoes. But as the years passed, things shifted. Now teenagers, Jake and Emily were beginning to orbit their own worlds. Emily, 16, had grown tall and graceful, with quiet eyes that seemed older than her years. She was thoughtful, artistic, always scribbling in notebooks or pressing flowers between pages. Jake, a year older, was louder, restless. He had a sharp wit, an easy smile, and a temper he didn't yet understand. While they still spent time together, something had changed. The innocence of their bond had been touched by the complexity of adolescence. And then there was the unspoken, the weight that hung in the air like fog. You see, in this world, this neatly painted suburb, love was assumed but rarely shown. Parents said, "I love you," with packed lunches and paid bills, but rarely with hugs or undivided attention. The kind of affection Jake and Emily needed was often buried beneath deadlines and duty. So, they looked elsewhere. They searched for meaning in shadows cast by their parents' absence, their own curiosities, and the complicated terrain of growing up. Jake often found himself sitting alone in his room, scrolling through his phone, watching videos he didn't fully understand, hearing voices louder than his own thoughts. Emily, on the other hand, began to withdraw. She smiled less, spoke in riddles, and scribbled drawings of locked doors and broken windows. They were growing up in a time where the internet offered more answers than their parents did. A time when silence could be louder than words, and loneliness wore the face of a friend. But this story isn't just about Jake and Emily. It's about what happens when children are left to interpret love on their own. When the hands that are supposed to guide them are too busy. When what begins as curiosity becomes something darker. And when the absence of attention becomes the presence of danger. Mrs. Carter believed in control. Her house was always spotless, her rules strict. She wanted Jake to be disciplined, to be strong, to be better than his father. She didn't see how that pressure pushed Jake further into himself. Mrs. Miller believed in warmth, but warmth takes time, and she had none. Between the stalls, the groceries, and the weight of bills, her love came in bits and pieces, often too late. She didn't notice how Emily's smile began to vanish. The two mothers still met occasionally on the porch. They'd exchange brief updates, laugh politely, and then retreat to their separate worlds. Neither truly knew what the other was facing. Neither truly saw the storm brewing in their children's eyes. We often say it takes a village to raise a child. But what happens when the village is too tired? Too busy? Too distracted? What happens when children raise themselves with screens as their teachers and each other as their mirrors? Jake and Emily were smart. Clever, even. But they were also lost in ways they hadn't yet understood. And like most teenagers, they were hungry for attention, for connection, for truth. So when a certain video passed from one phone to the next, when a friend whispered, "You have to see this," when curiosity knocked louder than caution, they opened the door, and something walked in. Something that wouldn't leave easily. In the shadows of two well-meaning homes. In the silence between loving but distant mothers. In the echo chamber of screens and secrets. A quiet unraveling began. This is the story of what they found. Or perhaps what found them. And so it begins. The whispers behind closed doors. Both parents leave early and come home late. Emily cooks her own meals. Jake eats noodles every day. At school, Jake is teased for not having a phone. He begs his mom for one. She says, straight A's or forget it. He studies hard, fueled by resentment, not motivation. Morning on Willow Lane looks peaceful. Sunlight melting across rooftops, birds scribbling tunes into the air, children hurrying to catch the bus, their backpacks bouncing like little heartbeats. But peace is often a curtain. Pull it back, and reality whispers something different. Inside number 14, Mrs. Carter has already left. It's barely 6:30 a.m., and the house echoes with the absence of footsteps. Her keys jingled down the hallway moments ago. The door slammed with the precision of routine. She doesn't say goodbye anymore. She assumes Jake is still asleep upstairs, headphones on, face buried in the pillow. She assumes wrong. Jake had been awake long before she left, staring at the ceiling. The silence was louder in the mornings. No scent of breakfast. No notes on the fridge. Just the ticking of the old hallway clock, counting down another day he had to manage on his own. Down the street, at number 16, Mrs. Miller is rushing through her own exit. Flour dusts the edge of her blouse. Her phone rings, unanswered, as she balances crates of vegetables in her arms. Emily watches from the window, brushing her hair slowly. She's learned not to expect a wave. There used to be hugs. Now there's just motion. The two women, hardworking, determined, and proud, believed they were doing enough. They provided. They protected. They survived. But children don't just grow on food and shelter. They grow on attention, on presence, on being seen. Emily is 15, but sometimes she feels 40. She knows how to cook now, simple meals mostly. Rice, fried eggs, plantains when they're not too ripe. She packs her own lunch, washes her uniform, and every evening, she leaves a plate in the microwave for a mother too tired to eat it warm. Jake, on the other hand, has a different rhythm. He doesn't cook. He doesn't clean. Not really. He boils noodles, those instant ones. The ones that taste like artificial salt and broken dreams. Sometimes he eats them dry, crunching them out of the packet like chips, because it's easier. Faster. Quieter. Jake used to wait for his mom to come home. He'd sit by the window, playing with shadows, pretending she'd pull into the driveway early, just once. But now he doesn't bother. He just heats another kettle. Adds the seasoning. Pretends the burn in his throat is flavor. At school, things aren't much better. Jake's uniform is neat, but always a size too small. His sneakers are scuffed. And most painfully, he doesn't have a phone. In a world wired to digital lifelines, this makes him invisible. A joke. A target. They laugh at him in class. "Bro, are you Amish?" one boy sneers. Another chuckles. "Even my grandma has TikTok, man." Jake tries to laugh it off. But the ache, it sits deep. It isn't about the phone. It's about what the phone means. It's a pass to be included. To be wanted. Without one, he's a stranger in his own generation. He goes home, frustrated, ashamed. Not at the bullies, but at his own helplessness. That night, after silently clearing away his dinner plate, Jake waits for Mrs. Carter to return. The house is dim. Cold. A blue glow from the television is the only movement. When she finally walks in at 9:12 p.m., exhausted, heels in hand, Jake is already waiting. "Mom," he says quietly, Can I talk to you? Mrs. Carter doesn't even take off her blazer. If it's about the phone, the answer's still the same, she sighs, dropping her handbag onto the table. Straight A's or forget it. That phrase. It hits Jake harder than she'll ever know. Straight A's or forget it. Not, let's talk about it. Not, we'll figure something out. Not even, tell me why you feel left out. Just a transaction. Jake's eyes sting, but he nods. Okay, he whispers, already turning away. And from that night on he studies. But not from excitement. Not from curiosity. He studies from resentment. From hunger. From humiliation. Mrs. Carter believes she's motivating her son. She calls it discipline. Tough love. The same formula that got her to where she is. But she forgets something critical. She had someone who once believed in her. Jake has algorithms. In his bedroom, lit only by a weak desk lamp, Jake opens his textbooks. He scrawls notes. Memorizes formulas. Tries to pretend it's a game he's winning. But every sentence is a reminder. You're only worth what you can prove. He writes late into the night. Sleep becomes a stranger. His grades begin to improve. But so does the bitterness. He doesn't feel smarter. He feels emptier. Like he's chasing a prize just to be let into the world he's already been excluded from. Meanwhile, Emily notices. She sees Jake less. They no longer walk to school together. He avoids her now, says he's too busy. She sees the change in his eyes. The tiredness. The edge. But she's learned to stay quiet. She has her own weight to carry. Emily, too, feels the slow drift. She doesn't complain, but she notices things. How the fridge is always half empty. How her mom forgets her birthday until the night before. How her body is changing, and no one talks about it. She reads a lot now, mostly online. Articles, blogs, anything that feels like understanding. She draws. Sketches people with missing mouths and oversized eyes. In her sketchbook, she writes words like unheard, invisible, hungry. She is quiet, but she is watching. Both of them are. And in their quiet, something dangerous is growing. Not hatred, not rebellion, but disconnect. The kind of disconnect that makes a child feel like a ghost walking through their own home. That makes them turn to places they shouldn't for answers they desperately need. At school, Jake sits in the back. His grades improve, but he doesn't smile when the teacher praises him. He hears the whispers. Knows his peers now see him differently, but not better. Just newer. A boy named Elle leans over one day and says, "Man, you grind too hard. Ever heard of reward loops? You gotta feed your dopamine." He grins, flashes his phone. "Here, check this out. It's gonna blow your mind." It's a link. A group chat. A private collection of videos not meant for school eyes. Jake hesitates. But only for a moment. Because what no one realizes, not even AO, is that Jake isn't just curious. He's starving. For connection. For power. For a sense of agency over a world that keeps rejecting him. Emily, too, is being pulled. In a different way. She hears things. Girls whispering in locker rooms. Laughter behind bathroom doors. Talk of filters, pages, channels, challenges. She doesn't understand all of it. But she understands the feeling. That everyone else seems to be somewhere she isn't. She starts staying up later. Browsing on her mom's old tablet. It's slow, cracked, but it works. She searches phrases she doesn't tell anyone. She stumbles across forums. Videos. Words she doesn't fully comprehend. And slowly, in the silence of their homes, in the absence of guidance, in the blind spots of well-meaning mothers, Jake and Emily begin to change. It doesn't happen all at once. At first, it's subtle. Jake's sarcasm sharpens. He rolls his eyes more. Shuts his door harder. Mrs. Carter thinks it's puberty. He's just being a teenage boy, she shrugs to a coworker. Emily starts wearing looser clothes. She spends more time in the library. Mrs. Miller barely notices. She's working longer hours now, trying to save for rent. But a seed has been planted. And it is growing. What kind of tree it becomes, no one can say. Yet, the thing about neglect is that it doesn't always look like abuse. It doesn't bruise the skin. It doesn't scream. Sometimes it just forgets to listen, to ask, to show up. And in that forgetting, something else remembers. Screens remember. Secrets remember. Loneliness remembers. And soon, so will Jake and Emily. But not in the way anyone hoped. It happens on a Friday. The sun is already dipping when Mrs. Carter arrives home. Her heels clack against the tile in brief staccato. 1, 2, pause. Then the rustle of a plastic shopping bag. Her face is unreadable. She's too tired to show pride, but not too tired to honor her promise. She places the phone on the dining table. No gift bag. No smile. No ceremony. Just the phone. A basic Android, second-hand, still bearing the faint scratches of its previous life. But to Jake, it might as well be a key to the universe. He doesn't say thank you right away. He just stares. The weight of months spent earning this reward tightens his chest. The bitterness hasn't vanished. It still simmers. But in that moment, it simmers beneath something stronger. Desire. He picks it up carefully, as though it might vanish. The screen lights up. His reflection stares back, older somehow sharper. The interface is clean. Empty. Untouched. It's the first thing in Jake's life that feels truly his. He charges it in silence, fingers twitching with anticipation. Mrs. Carter says nothing more. She retreats upstairs, door clicking shut behind her. She assumes the chapter is closed. But really, it's only begun. That weekend, Jake barely sleeps. He explores every setting, adjusts every ringtone, downloads apps with frantic urgency, social media, games, browsers. He joins group chats, replies to AO's link. His world explodes with motion, light, sound. Every swipe pulling him deeper into spaces he didn't know existed. He laughs more. Alone but loud. He forgets to eat. To bathe. The phone replaces both fork and toothbrush. His eyes adjust to the blue glow. And then, on Sunday evening, he makes a decision. He texts Emily. Emily's first reaction is disbelief. "You finally got it?" she writes, followed by a stream of wide-eyed emojis. "Yeah," Jake replies simply. "Come over. Let's play." That message changes everything. Emily arrives 15 minutes later. She doesn't knock. She knows Mrs. Carter isn't home. Won't be until long after sunset. Jake lets her in without a word. They sit cross-legged on the floor, backs against the sofa, sharing headphones. The phone rests between them like a sacred artifact. They play rhythm games. Tap-tap challenges with techno beats and dancing lights. Then puzzle games. Then side-scrollers. Then more rhythm games. Hours pass like minutes. Jake shows her the group chat. She reads the messages aloud, eyes wide. Memes. Music videos. Dumb jokes. Slightly inappropriate clips. They laugh. Cover their mouths. Rewind. Laugh again. Then they explore TikTok. Scroll after scroll. Influencers. Skits. Challenges. Dances. Couples. Pranks. Everything seems louder, funnier, prettier, cooler. It's hypnotic. Time dilates. Emily starts coming over after school. Not every day, but often enough that it becomes routine. Sometimes they pretend to study. Books open, backs straight. But the phone always ends up between them. The phone becomes their escape. Their reward. Their secret. They create rules. Only one person can hold the phone at a time. No peeking during the other person's turn. No screenshots without asking. No deleting messages without saying why. They keep a shared playlist, one they build slowly, adding songs that feel like us. They make up dumb names for the TikTok algorithm. The ghost brain, the time thief, the endless finger trap. And still they keep scrolling. Jake starts screenshotting things he thinks are funny or dark. He's developing a taste for the twisted. Jokes that blur the line between real and messed up. Violence dressed up as humor. Secrets whispered in 15-second sound bites. Emily doesn't always get it. But she laughs anyway. Because the phone is freedom, and freedom comes with rules you can break. They watch clips late into the night. Emily curls up on the beanbag, while Jake lies on the carpet. Neither wants to go home. Neither wants to break the trance. When Mrs. Carter arrives, Jake hides the phone under his shirt. Emily slips out the back. Sometimes Mrs. Carter sees the open books and smiles, proud of her disciplined son. She never notices the glow in his eyes. One night, the phone buzzes while they're doing a biology worksheet. Jake glances at the screen. His face changes. Emily watches him. What is it? Jake hesitates, then shows her. It's a video. A girl, maybe their age, filming herself doing something reckless. Dangerous. She's on a rooftop, lip-syncing to a slow, haunting song. Then she jumps. The screen cuts out. Emily gasps. That's fake, she says. Jake shrugs. Yeah, probably. But he rewatches it. Twice. Emily goes quiet. The next day, she brings over her mom's tablet. It's old, cracked, and barely works, but she's downloaded a video editing app. Let's make our own, she says. Jake lights up. It starts with filters. Then slow-mo clips. Then music overlays. Nothing dangerous. Nothing illegal. Just cinematic. Edgy. Artistic, they say. They post one anonymously. It gets 4 likes. Then 16. Then 47. They don't tell anyone. But their stomachs flutter every time the counter ticks upward. One afternoon, Jake skips class. He doesn't say why. Just messages Emily. Not feeling school. Come over. She hesitates. But she goes. They spend the day indoors, curtains drawn, inventing stories for fake characters they act out on camera. Skits that touch taboo themes, regret, obsession, betrayal. They mimic what they've seen online. It's all pretend. But the feelings linger. That evening, Emily watches Jake watching her. And for the first time, she feels something strange. Not fear. Not attraction. But displacement. Like she's floating above the moment, unsure how she got there. They begin to text each other at night. Long paragraphs. Private thoughts. Nothing romantic. Just truths too heavy to carry alone. Emily tells him she sometimes dreams of running away. That she hates being the responsible one. That she once ate an entire packet of sugar because it was the only thing in the house. Jake tells her he sometimes imagines what it would be like if he weren't Jake at all. That he gets scared of how easily he lies. That the phone has made him feel both powerful and hollow. Emily replies with a song. Jake sends a meme. They never talk about the texts in person. But they always keep texting. The phone changes how they see school. Jake becomes sharper. Less patient. Teachers annoy him. Peers bore him. Everything feels slow. Stupid. Predictable. He doodles in margins. Not pictures, symbols. Codes. He's building something in his mind. A world where he doesn't need anyone's approval. Emily becomes quieter. Detached. She no longer raises her hand in class. She spends more time in the bathroom, scrolling. She changes her wallpaper to a photo Jake took, a blurry shot of her laughing mid-sneeze. She says it reminds her to breathe. Then one day something shifts. A message appears in Jake's group chat. A challenge. It's vague. Cryptic. The mirror game. No instructions. Just a link. Jake taps it. His screen flickers. The video begins. It's grainy. Just a mirror. A boy stands in front of it, chanting something inaudible. Then the lights flicker. A shadow appears behind him. He screams. The clip ends. Jake laughs. So fake. But he watches it again. And again. Then he forwards it to Emily. She doesn't reply for 10 minutes. When she does, all she writes is, "Don't watch that stuff at night." Jake types out a joke. Deletes it. Types again. It's not real. Just editing. Emily replies with a single word. Still. That night, Jake dreams of the mirror. He wakes up sweating. He reaches for his phone. It's dead. 3 minutes later, he's knocking on Emily's window. She opens it, startled. He says nothing. Just climbs inside. They sit on the floor in silence, the dead phone between them. "I think it's messing with me," Jake whispers. Emily nods. "I know." They sit for a long time, the room filled with the hum of the broken ceiling fan and the weight of something unspoken. Emily picks up the phone, turns it over in her hand. "It's just glass," she says softly. Jake doesn't answer. Because he knows. It's never just glass. It happens by accident. Late one afternoon. The sun low, shadows long. Emily lies on the carpet, head propped on a math textbook, though the page hasn't turned in 15 minutes. Jake, sitting cross-legged beside her, scrolls mindlessly through the phone. They're bored. Not just in the usual way, but in that hollow, scratch-around-your-skull kind of boredom. The kind that makes even chaos feel like relief. He taps on a link, one buried in the corner of a shady website recommended by a stranger in a group chat. It loads slowly. Too slowly. Emily glances over, uninterested. "What's that?" Jake shrugs. The screen finally resolves. An icon appears. Not a game. Not a meme. A logo. Suggestive. Glossy. Explicit. Emily frowns. Jake. But he's already clicked it. It opens to a menu. Blurred thumbnails. Descriptions in bold, unambiguous text. No filters. No age gates. No warnings. Jake snorts. It's nothing. Just a video. He taps one. A clip begins. Emily sits up. She doesn't speak. Doesn't blink. She just watches for a moment, transfixed. Her mouth opens, then closes again. Jake chuckles nervously. See? Dumb. He looks at her. She doesn't laugh. Just stares. Then quietly he swipes to another. This one plays louder. Groans. Murmurs. The kind of sound that, even in the safest house, feels like a violation. Emily reaches to lower the volume. Jake stops her. No one's home. A beat passes. She lets go. The next day, they don't talk about it. But Jake bookmarks the site. And the day after that, he opens it again. Emily notices, but says nothing. He acts like it's normal. Like it's part of their routine now. Just another app. Another button to press when silence grows too loud. Emily doesn't leave. But she stops looking directly at the screen. Curiosity becomes habit. Habit becomes hunger. They start with short clips. Then longer ones. They explore categories. Filters. Favorites. They learn how to download without triggering ads. How to erase history. How to hide it all behind innocent app icons. They laugh about it sometimes. Jake makes jokes, crude ones. Emily winces but lets it pass. Because saying something would mean changing something. And neither of them wants to admit the change has already happened. After 2 weeks, they speak in code. Red folder means the saved videos. Skydiving means the late night stuff. Homework time means alone time. The words feel safe. Safer than what they actually mean. Safer than asking the real questions. Jake begins to change. He walks with a different rhythm, slightly cocky, as though holding on to a secret that makes him older than everyone else. He avoids eye contact with teachers. He mocks romantic scenes in movies, calling them tame. He no longer laughs at Emily's jokes unless they're dark. And his phone. It never leaves his hand. Not even in the bathroom. Emily changes too. Quieter. Withdrawn. Her eyes dart more. She checks the window constantly when they watch together. Sometimes she fakes being sick so she can leave early. But she always comes back. The guilt never lasts long. Because the pull is stronger. One afternoon, they stumble across a category neither of them understands. The title is coded, vague but suggestive. Jake clicks it anyway. What plays is colder. Less cinematic. More real. There are no filters. No background music. Just silence. A handheld camera. Movements that feel wrong. Emily sits rigid. This one's weird, she mutters. Jake watches without blinking. He doesn't reply. When it ends, she speaks again. That didn't look fun. It looked scary. Jake looks at her, a flicker of discomfort crossing his face. He scrolls away. But that night, he watches it again. Alone. They begin texting about it in bursts. Jake, ever wonder if people actually like doing that stuff? Emily, I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. Jake, I bet some do. Emily, maybe. Then nothing for 2 hours. Then Jake sends a link. Emily doesn't open it. He sends another. Then another. Eventually, she opens one. But she doesn't reply. At school, they drift. Not apart, but into themselves. Jake zones out during class, tapping his desk in a rhythmic pattern. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. Like a beat only he can hear. Emily chews her pencil raw. She flinches when boys laugh too loudly behind her. She starts wearing looser clothes. Keeps her sweater sleeves pulled over her hands. She begins watching the door instead of the board. One evening, Jake asks a question. It's a simple one, but it lands heavy. Have you ever thought about doing any of that? Emily blinks.